آمنت بالله كما هو بأسمائه وصفاته وقبلت جميع أحكامه. آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى والبعث بعد الموت. So there have been many times in my life where I'm thinking how to begin this because I have so many things I want to say, and then I end up like messing it all up. It's just a whole mixture of, doesn't make any sense. But let me just get started. So many times, like, you will meet some people in your life unexpectedly, like, and then suddenly you make a certain comment, or you just ask them about something, or they come to talk to you, and then you see that the conversation, it just flows and it just brings you to lots of things. It opens up a whole new dialogue, and you and that person can bond a lot. And many times the main foundation or the main reason behind that is actually spirituality. I don't know about others, but I am definitely someone who is so intense and passionate about spirituality, religion, faith, God, etc. Call it whatever you want, but I can feel when a person has that in them, and I will use that as a common point for me to kind of bond with that person. And very interestingly enough, it's not always like Muslims. I am not always talking about Muslims, because I know lots of non-Muslims in my circle of acquaintances and friends. Like, I know many non-Muslims, and I'm very close to them. So I remember once also I was like, there was this guy, actually, when I was working actually in a kind of department where they issue national identity cards to public members, and there were around 300 to 400 people sometimes a day. So I was just doing my cashier duties, and then I was walking next to my colleague's desk, and just to chat with her and joke. And I saw that very angry-looking man at the. He was a public member, and he was getting his photo taken for that ID card. So he looked very angry, and he was making comments about the government and blaming the government, etc. So I was, in my mind, when I saw him, I just went away. I turned my back, and I told myself that he's a troublemaker, so I will try to avoid this public member. Eventually he landed on my desk, like, by mistake. It was actually my cashier kind of counter, and then he came there. And I don't know how I tried to not displease him, because I was afraid that he was going to be angry and all of that and lash out at me. So I did my job, and then I don't know what actually, I think, yeah, he made a remark on something like happiness, a very philosophical kind of abstract kind of, those ambiguous comment. Like, he made a comment about people's goodness or happiness or something like that, something very deep. And then I remember I asked him a question. Like, I told him, if I remember, like, do you really believe that this truly exists? And at the time I was wearing hijab. I was still wearing hijab. So yeah, I had just started wearing hijab. I was full on in my journey, like totally zealous, totally into the Islam thing, and really going very strong about my iman. So then a very long conversation started between him and me. It was at my workplace, and some people were thinking that he was kind of harassing me and annoying me, and he wasn't. Like, my colleague even came to ask him, like, do you need something? They were kind of worried, and everyone was shocked, because yeah, I forgot to precise that the man in question he wasn't a Muslim. He was actually a Rastafarian. And for those who don't know, Rastafarians are actually like a very kind of a group of people, a minority. Like, there are many prejudice, many preconceived notions about them, just like Muslims a bit. So they look like Christians, they have these long dreadlocks, and they are known to smoke cannabis, and they have a kind of a bad reputation. But I will talk in another time, like who what I learned later on from that. But eventually, like I started talking to him, and it was a very deep conversation, and we kept in touch, and we kept talking about religion a lot. We talked about religion a lot, and although we are not of the same religion, like I am not in touch with him like in the present moment. Of course, I think once he did come at my workplace to, it was actually a couple of months ago. I was shocked, and I saw him, and so he had remembered that I still work there, and he came to see me, and I did see him. And that's a long story, by the way. I don't know if I will not be developing about this right now. But the point is that, just sometimes like God and religion and spirituality can be a great, it's one of the great biggest conversation starters. Sometimes it's not like you will go to a person and then suddenly start asking them about their religion or their belief in God, but it's actually excellent material to get someone to talk and to know more about them. And if you have that in common with someone, then you can be assured that you will be, it will be, things will be evolving very fast. Like I started talking to someone today. She's actually the security guard lady at the front desk, like reception counter where I work, like on the ground floor. And whenever I enter or I go back, I leave the office, we normally greet each other. And I always got that vibe that she's very kind and generous and helpful, and you just get that vibe, like that positive vibe. And yeah, so today I decided that I would strike up a conversation and just introduce myself, and yeah, just get the conversation going. I'm generally, I wouldn't say that I am timid. I am very social person, but it's true that many times we overthink. Like I was telling her, like the conversation was awesome. Like I had anticipated, we had a lot in common, and we started to talk about religion and God and faith. She is, I'm assuming, a Christian or Catholic, but it doesn't matter. Like that's actually the beauty. If people would understand, like most of us, we have a huge problem actually, and even Islam did not tell us that we can still live together in harmony, but we must be aware of the fact that religion, like in general, teaches you to be a good human being and to help each other and to be nice and to abstain from bad things and just collaborate and live with sharing and peace and love, which is, I think, the basic essence of any religion. So we are wasting a lot of energy, negative energy, about fighting each other for no reason. And like, yeah, as a Muslim, like I love my religion so much, but at no point my religion has become a barrier for me to interact with other people. In fact, I think ever since, for me personally, I don't know if you will agree or relate or believe me, but the very fact, like precisely, that I am Muslim, I have read, like from listening to stories about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I know that he was one of the most kind people, very friendly and social and generous and open to, like, how do I say, maintaining peaceful relations with everyone. So I am very open-minded, and I love to listen to other people talk about their own religion, and I see that we have a lot in common. Like when I have these conversations, I just feel like we are actually all together in this. And I think when we reduce it to the essential, to the minimum, like we all believe in the same thing, and the philosophy, the destination, the end result, the objective of the faith is like more or less the same. So now you just imagine, like if you were to have such conversations with many people whom you encounter in your life, like sometimes just ask them a question like, what do you have to lose? Like that's what I tell myself whenever I feel like in any situation I'm overthinking, I'm afraid of the consequences. I tell myself, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like you can make a fool of yourself, you can get rejected, so you can fail. So none of these three things are actually like big kind of end of the world scenarios. So the problem is that we take ourselves too seriously, and we tend to think that just if you make a fool of yourself, it's like a big deal, but it's not a big deal. as children we used to make fools of ourselves so many times, but still we were undeterred. Our confidence was even still intact, and we would just go on and on and on. So that was a very interesting conversation that I had today. One of the most like life, how do I say, like I will never forget this in my entire life. And yeah, I think that God is really connects people from whichever religion you might be, from whatever background you might be. So this is something very beautiful to think about and to put into practice.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.